What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Big Guilty Cigars podcast. Today's host is John Hubert, the runner of Crown Head Cigars. And today we are also going to be joined by Rob from Should I Smoke This? And you know how me and Rob relationship is. So when Rob hops on, Rob hops on. So without further ado, we'll let John give you a nice introduction about himself and about his company.
I didn't know I got promoted to host. I thought that was your gig, man.
Yeah.
The host. I'm like, well, I'm not ready for that.
Well,
my name is John Huber. I started off in the cigar industry back in 1996 at CAO. We part of a team that built that thing up, and then they sold it, moved on. I started Crown Heads in 2011 and started shipping our first cigars in November of 11. And here we are today, 12 years later already. Almost 12 years. Yeah, it'll be November the 8th will be like 12-year anniversary, I guess. So that's it. That's the quickest I've ever done that. I just took you through 20 whatever years. So, but yeah, that's how I cut my teeth, was at CAO. And we were literally starting out of the owner's garage.
Wow.
And I started off as a shipping manager just to get my foot in the door, and just kind of started working my way up from there. So I'm leaving a lot of details out, but
yeah, that's fine.
That's all right.
So, I think something that's, and if I go start with something very, you speak about your marketing and how you were doing marketing for CAO, and how your main goal was to get on the Sopranos.
One of them, yeah, that's one of the things. Yes, that is correct. So we had just gotten kind of off the ground a little bit, and somebody in the office said, "Hey, I noticed that people are smoking cigars on the Sopranos, and wouldn't it be cool if we can get our cigar on there?" And the owner, Jono, rest in peace, said, "Make it happen." And that was the one thing he really instilled in all of us back then, was like, whatever you think you can do, just believe it, you will achieve it, just try, And so I've always been that kind of mindset ever since then. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And behind the scenes, there was a guy in LA working for a product placement company back then called UPP Entertainment, which I don't even know if they still do product placement in movies and TV or whatever. But back then, what they would do is they would get corporations to, if you're Bounty Towels, they'll say, okay, for $1 million a year, we'll put you in this movie and this, that, whatever. And so he had been courting us. I'm like, that's not for us. But then I called him back up one day and I said, hey, forget about all the proposals. If I just wanted one spot, one place, what's that worth to you? And then we negotiated a deal, got him on the Sopranos. And then the following season, I had already developed a relationship with the prop manager on set. And so I would just send cigars there. And then that led to HBO wanting to do a licensing agreement with CAO. And then we came out with CAO, the Sopranos edition cigar.
Wow.
So, and then it was cool. I mean, I got to meet, most of the cast and kind of got friendly with them and whatever. And that was kind of fun. It's a good thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So now, are you LA through and did you grow up in LA through and through?
No, I grew up actually in NoCal. I grew up in San Francisco in the city until I was 17. And then when I was 17, I moved down to LA and went to college down there, and then spent about another 10, 12 years down in LA before moving to Nashville. So I've been in Nashville the majority of my life. So I kind of consider myself a Nashvilleian at this point, but it's kind of like I'm still, you can take the Bay out of the boy, but you can't take the boy out of the Bay, but not the Bay out of the boy. So I still pull for the Giants, the Warriors, all that kind of stuff.
You know what? I would say this, man. I can't lie to you. Back in the day, I used to have an ex who worked for Virgin America. The headquarters was over in San Francisco. So every other weekend, I would fly out to San Fran. And I don't know. It's so different from over here in New York. It's two different worlds.
100%.
I'm like
100%.
I'm like, man, and San Fran got some hills.
Oh yeah, I grew up hang on one second, Kim.
No problem.
Sorry.
No problem.
I should turn my phone off, but anyway.
No, you all good, man.
No. Sorry, I'm yours. No. I grew up on a skateboard. I was telling my daughter that because I'm teaching her how to ride a skateboard, and I said that was my transportation when I was a little kid. It's like that's how we got around. We just get on a board and just ride wherever, that kind of thing. So
Like I spent a lot of time down at Pier 40.
Yep.
You know,
Pier 39 is like the
Pier
big
39.
tourist hot. Pier 39.
Yeah, Pier 39. Yeah.
I haven't been back to the city since, oh God, it's been about 6 or 7 years now. When my grandmother passed, I went back there for her services. But LA, I haven't been back to LA since I left LA. I mean, it's just, that's not somewhere I particularly am very fond of. But
yeah,
fortunately, there's not a lot of support for crowned heads out in the West Coast anyway, so it's not like I'm really missing anything. But all my family is still back in Northern California, so
okay,
yeah.
It's so cool. Guys, you guys know this guy at the bottom of your screen. It's gonna be Rob from Should I Smoke This?
Rob, I finally get to say hello, kind of in person.
Yeah, I told Innocent that I'm literally like basically too busy to do this today because I have all these orders to ship and then I have to go live with Sanj in a little bit. But I was like,
hey,
I gotta
stop
in and say hi to John. You know,
I appreciate you. And before we went back or we went live on this thing, I said, God, Rob's gonna be on. That's so cool because I just sent him a package. I'm not sure you got it or not, but because usually you send me an email. I'm like, I wonder if I hope he didn't move or anything.
Yeah,
like
I know. I tagged you on social media and literally was so busy otherwise that like never even sent the email yet.
All good, man.
I put it all up on the car there. It was nice, but yeah, I had to stop in because I mean I need to meet you one day in person just to say thank you for being one of the most genuine people I've ever met in the industry. Ask Sanj. I've told him 1,000 times because I'm pretty strange. I've been like doing cigar media a long time, and now I do all this e-commerce stuff. I basically don't care to meet anybody in the industry, short of the few people that I've met. I said, if there's any one person I actually want to sit down and talk to, it's John Huber, because he's one of the most. So here's the thing, and I've said this to you in email, but I'll say it on here because this is a better forum to say it. To me, there's, it's one thing to have a good product. There are plenty of brands that have a good product, but the fact that you have such a genuine passion for it, and then on top of that, you've actually never even met me, but you're such a genuine person, and even on some personal things, you've been so personable and cared for what reason I don't know. I guess you're just a good person. That it's like that to me, even if crowned heads were to start slipping a bit, which it hasn't, everybody watching, it has absolutely not. I said today to Innocent that crowned heads honestly doesn't miss, but even if it were to, I'd still support the brand just because of you. And that's a huge thing. I can't say that about almost any other brand.
I appreciate that, man. Being a good human being is obviously more important than delivering a good cigar when it comes down to it, really. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, man. It's just my nature. Like I remember when you and I talked about some things you were going through, and I could empathize, and I don't know. That's just my nature of trying to reach out and, like, for lack of a better descriptive, touch somebody and just say, hey, whatever. That's the reason I've sent that package. I'm like, man, I haven't, for some reason, you're on my mind. I'm like, I haven't, sent anything to Rob. I hope he's doing good. How's his dog? Da, 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 da. And
and I got to tell you, I appreciate every time I get a package from you. I appreciate the hell out of it. Because I enjoy all the cigars thoroughly. That's why I try to post them as much as I can, even if I've reviewed them. Because you've said since day one, it's not, I don't want reviews, and it's one of the brands that I enjoy the most. So I'm happy to promote it. And even at the shop, and Innocent will tell you because he's always here, outside of Sanj's stuff, because he's killing it with the price point and the quality right now. One of the first places I walk anybody to out of his thousands of facings here is the crowned head spot, because there's so many cigars. Even people are rediscovering here at his shop the La Imperiosa, which I love, because he somehow, I guess because he had gotten other crowned head stuff. He filled the facings for La Imperiosa with other stuff. For like 2 years, we didn't have that. So we finally got it back in, and I had to re-explain to everybody how good it is. And now people are
rediscovering it. We've had a few things like that, actually. I posted a thing on social media like a week or two ago, and I said, I kind of wonder if Las Mareas was like our Paul's Boutique. And by that, I meant because I remember when this is going back before either one of you were probably born, but Beastie Boys had released an album called License to Ill. It was huge. It was a big, big thing, right? And then their follow-up album was Paul's Boutique, which at the time just completely tanked. Nobody got it. Nobody understood it. And now, 30 years later or whatever, it's regarded as like this grail album that can never be replicated again. One of the best hip hop albums that, reinvented sampling, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of feel like that was like Marias. And we've had a few like that where we put it out, like it just doesn't get traction. And then all of a sudden 7 or 8 years later, everybody's like, "Oh, bring that back! It's so good. Bring it back!" It's and what that ship has already sailed. So we've had a few.
Luminosa too. That was yours, wasn't it?
That it still is, but there's our portfolio got so wide that we just kind of made a conscious decision probably right before the pandemic to just really hyper focus on like maybe 4 or 5 brands and like put everything else on hiatus, not necessarily discontinue, but put it on hiatus. So like Headley Grange, JD Howard, Luminosa, Moraes was discontinued. So we really can focused a little bit more the portfolio.
So I'm not ignoring you. I'm reaching.
Yeah, no. Go do your thing.
I actually have one of these on the site still, and I can't believe I found this. I was digging around in the
19s, baby.
Yeah, I was digging around in Sanj's humidor and found a box of 19s.
That's another one that flew under the radar. I thought that blend was so good. I really, I still do.
I know. I can't tell you how much I'm trying to keep myself from just taking it off the site and buying it, and that's probably what I'm going to do.
What size is it? Which size do you have there?
This is the LC46.
Oh, brilliant! They got to be. That's what 4 years now. That thing's got to be just perfect.
Yep.
I know.
Do you have any left?
No. I mean, I think I have I've kept like a couple of single sticks just so that annually I could shoot the lineup. I think, but I don't even know if I have the 19. There was a couple that were missing this year, and then this year's version, the 23 of the broadleaf, it's leaving Nicaragua on Saturday. So we should have it here in the building Wednesday or Thursday of next week. And that's when it'll start shipping out. So, and then no sooner we get that in, then we go to the trade show and open another can of worms. So it's really kind of crazy here at this time of year, this week. In fact, we've got shipments coming from my father. We've got shipments coming from Noxa, and we've got a shipment coming from TLA. And then we're having to air freight some stuff up for the PCA. And then we've already shipped the booth. I mean, it's just,
it's a full schedule.
It's just nuts, man. I'm just like, there's not enough hours in the day. So, but anyway.
Innocent, I kind of took over your stuff here. Look,
you didn't take over, Rob. First of all,
feel free to throw.
My show is your show, so I don't know how you playing.
I'm sorry. I don't even see you on screen because I'm on the phone. So it's just me and John having a conversation.
That's fine. That's perfect. I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that at all, Rob. You know that.
That's fun. It's just a friendly chat, man. I'm so stoked that you were on this thing though, for real. Because I was like, at first I don't even think I was supposed to do this because Miguel was going to do it. And then he popped out to Canada to do a series of events. And he says, "Can you do this?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what it is." So I'm like, I just hit yes. And then I didn't hear nothing. And then here we are. So I'm glad it all worked out. Very serendipitous. That's cool.
Hey, listen, I told Innocent, I said, I do, because he said about hopping on a podcast on Friday. I was like, with the workload I have and the fact that I'm already going to be doing a live stream today, I was like, no. He's like, I want you to meet John Huber. I'm like, I'm in.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, if you ever find yourself in Nashville or the PCA or any of that kind of stuff, by all means.
My mom was there recently, and I was like, shit, because I mean, it was like a girls' trip. She went with my sister and a few other people.
Okay.
And I was like, damn, because I wanted to literally come out there so I could check it out. I mean, I wouldn't obviously just show up, but I would have.
Why not? Everybody else does.
I was like, shit. So actually, believe it or not, even though I played music forever and toured, and somehow, I guess maybe because of the genres we were playing, we never really hit Nashville. So out of all of the country that and all the stages I've been on, I've never even been over there. So I want to check out the city, let alone, check out the Crown Heads facility. So I got to come out there at some point. It's not even that far if I wanted to do a day drive. I mean, I don't mean day drive and then drive home, but
Rob, boys trip, Rob.
That would be great. I mean, unless we can't take my car because we can only fit a maximum of 2 people in it.
Yeah.
And it would cost about $900 in gas. But if we don't take my car, we'd be fine.
Hey, we can get a rental. It's fine.
Although if we take my car, we can get there a lot faster.
A lot faster.
With a couple of tickets along the way, I'm assuming, something like that.
Yeah. Somehow I don't have any wood to knock on. I have not got any tickets in this car yet. All of my other Mustangs, I've wasted a lot of money.
Serious. That's funny. That's funny.
Yep.
Well, go ahead. Go on.
No, go ahead, John. You were saying something. I didn't want to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No, I was just going to say there isn't really much to tour or see here, but people that now that Nashville is getting a lot more tourism, people that actually enjoy cigars say, "Oh, Crown Head's there," and they'll just show up at the door and go, "Hey, I came by for a tour," and I'm like, "See this office, that conference room, and that warehouse? You've seen the tour. Congratulations."
Listen, if there's Crown Head cigars there, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah,
John Hubert has a conversation with, and if you have a couple of longboards, I heard you talking about skating.
I do.
I'm in, because I mean, I actually was never big on what I call classic skate because I was terrible at tricks for some reason. So I spent a lot of time failing at a lot of that stuff. But once I got into longboarding, oh my God,
it's
push
fun.
culture was like, it was my thing for a long time. Like the Boston store in Brooklyn when it was there was like my candy shop. I can't tell you how many different boards I bought, how many disciplines I got into. I spent so much money. Of course, around here, it's a tough skate. Like, I don't know if either of you have ever heard of it, but they used to do, I don't know if they still do it. They used to do Broadway Bomb. It's a race. It's a 8.5 mile race up Broadway in traffic. It's not a sanctioned event. They don't close Broadway. So this is Broadway in the middle of the day. And you race from, which park is it down there? All the way to the Bronze Bull in the financial district.
Wow.
And last time I did it, there was over 1,000 of us. And it's dangerous as fuck, and it is one of the funnest times I have ever had. I used to also go to Tasty Tuesdays where we would meet up at night in Central Park and we'd skate Central Park.
And fun, man.
That was awesome, because also I'd get off the train and we'd actually ride to Central Park in traffic through Manhattan, then do Tasty Tuesday, push all the way back to the train. I stopped.
That sounds like a blast.
Oh, it was amazing. I stopped in the last 5 or so years because, I'm not old, but I'm 37 now. And I felt like I'm not in the position right now, life-wise, to be like, fuck it, if I break something. I was like, and around here, there's really, the roads and stuff suck. So there's a lot, there's a good chance of hurting yourself. So I was like, all right, I'll give this up for now. But if I was over there, I'd love to kick around a little,
The trick is that if you think about getting hurt, you're going to get hurt. But if you just don't even pay attention, that's the difference when we're kids versus adults. Like, kids don't have fear. They don't
at all.
That's the difference.
The big problem here was sometimes it's about your circle that you're riding with, right? So I honestly wanted to push, carve, relax, put on some headphones, maybe get into dancing, which I never did. For innocent, if you don't know, that's not actually dancing. It's you use like a 65+ inch longboard and you literally move the board while you carve. Like you move around on the board while you carve, but the board is kind of not doing much, and it's really just awesome. But the people I was riding with, it was all about advanced slides. It was eventually I started getting into downhill shit, so I started dabbling in that a little bit. So we were getting into the extremes where you could get like seriously hurt. So it wasn't even about like traffic, because when I'd go out by myself, I'd put on headphones and just have a nice time and ride 20 miles that way, 20 miles back. But the friends I was riding with, like, we were doing stuff like going over to Brookdale at night and bombing from, well, you don't know the street, so I won't bore you, but there's a street up in Montclair that comes down into the park. By the time you get into the park,
I know exactly what you talk about.
So when you go past the dog park and whatnot, so by the time you get there to where you have to slide into a turn, you're doing about 40. So we were doing shit like that. So it was getting to the point where I was like, all right, the crowd I'm rolling with, they're getting to extreme to the point where people are talking about buying leathers. I'm like,
all right. That's time out. I'm out.
Yeah, I had a friend, Dan, who wanted to get into the 55-mile-an-hour club, because that's a thing with longboarding too. I'm like, fuck it. No, I'm not trying to go as fast as a car on the highway on my board.
No. I mean, I'm a lot more tame than that. Like, we have a walkway. Well, I guess it's like a pathway behind the office. So right behind our loading dock is a parking lot. Across behind that is the Cumberland River. And you could take this path from like this golf course all the way down about 2 miles down the road. It's the Titans training facility. And then
I've seen you skated on Instagram.
That's where I'm skating. Exactly. So
and see what you're doing there. Not even kidding. If I come over there, I would love to do that with you, because that's what I wanted. I'd like to relax, push, enjoy the atmosphere. You know,
I
I'm
just
not
put my
trying to, I'm not
AirPods
trying to
on and
keep
I just like zone out and then just kind of clear my mind and just, you know, once in a while. I haven't done it in a minute because I've just been so busy here, but yeah, I still do enjoy it. We got a couple boards here. And then I got a board at home and got a couple boards at home that we live kind of like on a hill. So I'll still skate. And they're like, oh, look at the old guy skating, you know, or whatever. But it's still fun. It's still fun. So
I
and so
remember, and I say this like I'm old, I'm not, but longboarding in this area was not popular until about 2010, 11, it started picking up steam. But when I started, you know, going out there like in Montclair areas around here and longboarding with a couple of friends, people would literally like stop us and be like, why is your skateboard so big?
oh my God, are you serious?
That's how
funny.
much like longboarding here wasn't a thing until about
Wow.
2010. And I'm like, it's a longboard. And you know, you have people pull up and be like, do a kick flip. I'm like, the fuck, it's 50 fucking inches long. Like, I know.
Dude, even if you give me a standard board, I couldn't even do an ollie. I never, even when I was growing up in the city, just it was transportation. That was all it was, you know. And
Yeah, I sucked.
I didn't do
tricks.
anything.
That's the reason I gave up regular skating. Like when I was in high school, I was like, I'm just hitting my shins and falling off of things. I'm not really doing tricks.
I just like to go and just enjoy the ride and just cruise. So that's
it.
still where I'm at. So
Now people are cheating with electric longboards.
Wow. I saw that. Who was that dude? God, what was the guy? He sold his company to CNN or something. He had the sunglasses. He did a blog like every day for like a year, and he was writing. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about? Casey
Neistat.
Thank you.
The guy he's ugly as shit. It's the only reason I remember his name.
I remember that guy because he would have this. He had this board that was like electric, and he'd go uphill on it, and he'd go all through the city. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I wouldn't mind taking a look at one of those. But I'm like, what's the
only
point?
part of that I like is the fact that obviously it breaks. So
yeah,
that like because there have been quite a few times where I've had to bail. Like you try to find grass if you're going too fast.
Yeah.
But you know, you've had to bail, and you're like, I wish I had brakes
once
in a while. Because I mean, if you know how to slide efficiently, you don't have to worry about it. You just dip into a slide, you're done in a few seconds.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the space to slide and you're doing 30, it's like that's the only time I wished I was on an electric longboard. It's like, I really love that braking function.
Yeah, no doubt. Otherwise, you just got to abort the mission and jump off the thing and whatever.
Yeah, I got some gnarly scars from that, but I'm not going to take up a cigar podcast with that shit.
Yeah, I know. We're like how many minutes in, and all we talked about was skateboards. But that's cool.
Listen, man. Listen. First of all, like this is a podcast, so listen. Stories this is just general conversation, man.
Yeah.
You know, we'll always get back to the cigars, but honestly, this is a better way for people to know just more about John. Also, know more about you. I didn't even know you longboarded. I know about your cars.
Yeah, I was into that for a long time. A lot of people now, because of how long it's been since I've been sponsored and everything, you know, don't even know. Well, on the cigar side, don't even know about the music stuff. You know, is the fact I did that my whole life. You know, was
the only reason I knew about the music stuff for you is because I remember seeing an interview you did with Pete, and you guys were talking about that common thread that you all had. So that's why I knew you were in the music prior to that.
I was a sponsored touring drummer for quite some time. That's actually why I didn't go to my last year of college. Not, of course, I realized later this is a whole podcast topic for you at some point, Innocent. But that I wasted, you know, thousands of dollars for stuff that I learned while literally doing the actual job. That there was no point at all to college. So that's why when people go, "Oh, you didn't graduate," I'm like, "No," and thank God. I was actually pursuing a dream, had a much better time, and then it turns out didn't need that piece of paper anyway. So I saved myself on a year. But anyway. That's how I wound up not finishing that year. But even then, you know, there's digital production. Like any music that's ever in any of my videos, I literally made, and it's like a lot of people don't realize that. But when we do our thing, our episode, Innocent, you know, we'll have plenty to talk about. I've been into a lot of stuff.
And John, that's kind of how me and Rob really connected, was through music.
Okay.
You know, because me and Rob we'll grab a cigar. And, you know, we'll talk a little bit about cigars, but we'll always talk more about music.
Yeah, I think Innocent was surprised at first about how much I know about hip hop. Because that's the culture I grew up. Even though like I played rock and everything on tour. Because I mean, I grew up with that too, because I grew up in a musician household. Well, rock and disco. My dad always had tons of awesome old disco records. But Yeah, I grew up in hip hop culture, so like we started talking about that stuff, and
that's funny.
hit
I
it
was
off.
I was the same. I didn't even know what like quote unquote rock music was until I moved to LA, went to college and got exposed to other people. But in my neighborhood where I grew up, all you heard was like, and this is way back before either one of you guys, but all you heard was like Parliament, Funkadelic, Bootsy Collins. And then right. And I still listen to that stuff over and over. And like the first album I bought was Parliament, Mothership Connection. And I played it over and over and over.
Yeah.
What a great,
and that's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Actually, like one of his tracks was played backwards. There's on the story on it. I think it was Atomic Dog. They messed up and they played it.
That's
backwards.
George Clinton. Yeah.
Yeah, George Clinton. Yeah.
Yeah, Clinton.
He said he was so paranoid they track without him. He said just play it anyway. And he went there and started going.
That's funny. And then I got into rap and hip hop and all that. And then once I got to college, that's when the people were like, oh, you've never heard of Led Zeppelin? And I'm like, no, it's just that was never my thing.
So what was big on the West Coast back in the 80s? Like what rap was
West
big?
Coast? Shoot, I used to listen to everything that was big in the 80s. Like, God, I'm trying to get my decades straight because I used to listen to a lot of, you'd have to go back to Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah.
Before
their time.
Beastie Boys, De La Soul. I mean, De La Soul was like, for me, that album, 3 Feet High and Rising, there was like, not the single that was really popular, which was Me, Myself, and I, but every other track, like Potholes on My Lawn and all this kind of where they sampled like obscure like French lessons and stuff. And I was just like, that's genius, you know? That was the stuff that I started to listen to. I even listened to like Kraftwerk back in the day. That gets played a lot and sampled a lot. God, there's just a ton of stuff that I listen. I even listened to early Prince, Dirty Minds, Controversy, stuff like that. But I never really listened to quote unquote rock and roll until a lot later.
Yeah, I was fortunate growing up because my father was a musician, like I was saying. He teaches drums for a living. And so I grew up, and his collections were incredible. So we grew up constantly listening to music. I listened to everything in that house except hip hop. Mm-hmm. But because of the neighborhood I grew up in, all my friends listened to is hip hop. So the only genre of music up until recently that I could say I can't talk shop with anybody about is country. Believe it or not, that's the one.
I live in Nashville and I couldn't tell you anything about it. Same. 100%.
Not only do I can I say that honestly, I've tried dipping the toe in a few times and I don't honestly like most of it. That's a longer conversation. But my father, that was one of the only genres he wasn't into. So we had no country music. And obviously all my hip hop friends were not listening to country music. So that's the only genre that like was glossed over and I have no experience with at all.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yep.
Same.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts today is on Instagram. I'll send Rob like shitty drummers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Rob, he's able to pick up things that I wouldn't even think of. And I'll be like, yo, you hear this? And he goes, oh, well, this drummer is nice. This drummer sucks. This drummer, he's always off key. And one thing that he said was when he speaks about Quest from the Roots.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, nobody else could kind of mimic his cadence because his cadence is kind of always off.
Yeah, because
intentionally though.
What it is with Quest, in the short is he's not a technical drummer. When it comes to actual chops, he's actually not very impressive and doesn't have a large bag of tricks. The thing is, he has two things. He has pocket, which is you can't learn pocket. You could take drum lessons your whole life. You could practice 8 hours a day. You cannot learn pocket and timing. You cannot. And then the cadence that you were referring to basically is what he does and what a lot of good hip hop and R&B style drummers can do if they're good. It's called being behind the one. So it almost feels like they drag, but they're not off time at all. What they do is kind of by being that those few milliseconds behind the actual one, like if you were on a click, being a tiny bit behind it, what it actually does is it kind of, you feel the rhythm more. It emphasizes the actual rhythm. Even if you're just playing your standard 4, if you're a tiny bit behind and you know how to do that, it's not an actual drag and you're not off beat. It's called being behind the one a little bit, and that's something that it's what gives you that, when you just go, when you're listening to the Roots and you go, holy shit, that's what it is. He's not doing anything impressive, but his pocket's deep, and he knows how to play in a very interesting way that again is felt. It's not learned. So that's why like I've always dug Quest. He doesn't do anything that impressed me.
Who's your favorite drummer, Rob?
Overall?
Yeah.
Like famous wise?
Just any time frame, like whatever. Go back to
because I have different reasons for why there's different drummers from different periods that are the best period. The best overall drummer on the planet is actually Carter Buford from Dave Matthews Band.
I was never a Dave Matthews guy, so I wouldn't even know.
Well, that's one of those things where like, and I tell people this all the time because I was a Dave Matthews fan, huge since '96. But if you're not a musician, most of that band stuff will just go over your head. Like honestly, a lot of it will just be boring because if you're not a musician, they could just be lumped with every other jam band. Honestly. But Carter Buford on every level that I won't bore everybody with is probably the best drummer on the planet since I've been alive, and I haven't seen or heard another drummer that is even close.
I was thinking you're gonna say something like John Bonham or fucking
John Bonham,
Stuart Copeland.
My favorite drummer from classic rock, or if you were to ask me who do I think is the most one of the most or the most influential drummer, period. But John Bonham probably would have been it because he innovated a lot of styles and different things into drumming specifically that not only were mimicked for decades after, but are the foundation for like modern metal drumming and a lot of technical things. John Bonham, he was doing double bass with one foot before people ever had double bass pedals or started using double bass drums. Again, a lot of technical shit that I won't bore people with, but he did a lot of things. So a lot of people would argue like, oh, well, live he was kind of sloppy sometimes. I'm like, yeah, okay, but you trade that for the fact that he invented so many of those stuff. Well, Led Zeppelin, that's why they're so iconic, because at the same token, Jimmy Page is the godfather of the modern riff. The only reason we have modern metal the way we do and why riffing, as it were, became so popular is Jimmy Page. Nobody was doing things like Led Zeppelin back in the day. Like something as simple as like now you have children who can play Black Dog. I used to teach it when I taught guitar. It's like, not a big deal.
Right.
Name another song that had a riff like Black Dog back when that came out. It's like Jimmy Page was a genius. Even certain voicings and certain things that he did that were very uncommon at the time. He wasn't afraid to experiment, but he wasn't avant-garde where it's just like shit. And then he tries to be an artist. A lot of artists will play bullshit and then go like, oh, well, it has a deeper meaning and you might not understand it. No, he would do things that are palatable and blew people's minds and became the foundation of what people tried to mimic for 40, 50 years after. And it was new, like he invented it. It's such an incredible, they're incredible. But no, Carter Buford is the best drummer I've ever seen, especially live.
Okay.
Yeah. One guy
I'll just throw one more in for blowing people's minds because that's not the answer people expect when they ask me about drummers. You know who the best guitar player is on the planet?
I don't know.
Nobody would ever guess that I'd spit this answer out. John Mayer.
John Mayer?
John Mayer is not like he's good. John Mayer is the from a technical level, the things he can do, the things he can play, the things he's mimicked even. Like when he came out with the John Mayer Trio album, with John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin and John Paul Jones and who was playing? Oh, Steve Jordan on the drums. They had done 2 Hendrix songs, and one of the biggest controversies for 5 straight years in the music industry was that most critics, including people that were like producers from the old days, said that John Mayer played those songs better than Hendrix ever could have. Like, wow, he does certain things that, like, I saw him live at the Borgata. This was probably about 10 years ago. And so everybody knows him for just his pop stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say.
Even that, listen, as in terms of a writer, his pop stuff is absolutely unbelievable. It's far surpasses basically anybody else that does the genre. But when I went and saw him live, he played blues for a straight hour. He like touched on his pop stuff. He played blues he basically was playing solos and just making kids lose their fucking minds playing blues. And I'm just like, he's done jazz stuff you never know about. He's featured on so many songs that he doesn't even take credit for. Like I was telling Innocent recently about Small Worlds by Mac Miller. He like when he did the tribute after Mac died, I thought he was just doing that because he knew him and it was cool to do. Right. Turns out he was actually the guy who jumped on that track, said I have to get on this, played that part, recorded it, and then told him, yeah, no, you don't owe me anything and don't put my name on it. Like he's everywhere at once. He's also he's been in Dead and Company now for how long? They're on their last tour.
That I knew, yeah, but I never was into that at all. That
no, I don't like that either.
Grateful Dead.
But he literally can and does do everything.
I never would have thought that. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, even in terms of, and again, I won't dive into technical shit to bore everybody, but even in terms of things like tone, that's something that, like, if you're not a musician, you don't really pay attention to. But he is so perfectionist about his tone, and even if you were to not be singing, I can hear a guitar line and know immediately it's John Mayer just by how it sounds and just by the lines. He's so unique. The amount of things he can do and the breadth of his capabilities is absolutely limitless. I mean, and listen, I'm a huge metal fan. Like John Petrucci is one of the greatest guitar players ever from Dream Theater. There's amazing guitar players all over the place. Paul Gilbert, Steve Vai. The thing is, John Mayer can do all that shred shit, but he could also listen. He sat with BB King, and BB King sat next to him and stared at him in awe while he played BB King shit. Like he's one of those players where, like, if you don't know, you don't know. But the greatest guitar players on the planet consider him to be one of the greatest guitar players on the planet. It's one of those situations. Wow. So it's very interesting.
It is interesting. I want to guess that.
So me and Rob, like, we getting deep in because we talked about Tool and A Perfect Circle. And
Tool, jeez.
Yeah, and so like Rob was telling me, he was like, it's the drummer of Tool. He does something. He goes, I could never ever mimic. Like, what was the track? Rob was
Danny Carey.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying this like I'm cool, but I have never been able to. There's never been a song that we tried to cover ever that I couldn't play. Sorry. And then for one show that was coming up, we wanted to throw in a cover of 46 and 2 by Tool. And I could play the whole song, except for Danny Carey's solo. I still to this day can't play it. Like, and that tells you something about that guy's level of insanity. It's and it's because it's not conventional. He does certain things in that solo that they just don't make sense. And he duplicates it.
Now I got to go back and like listen to this on Spotify or something. I got to, okay, let me see. Go back to it.
So there's listen to the drum solo later in the song. I mean, even to non-drummers, it sounds insanely impressive, and it is. But he does certain drags and certain unsyncopated things in that solo that I literally couldn't nail.
What's the name of the cut? 46 and 2?
Yeah.
46 and 2.
Okay. I'll take a look at it. The only thing I know about Tool is the dude who's the lead singer that started a wine company.
Namer.
Yeah, he started his own wine like vineyards in Arizona or something. I was just like, huh?
It was just it's called like blood water.
He's an eclectic guy.
Very.
But see, now if you flip back to Carter Buford talking about weird shit that's not conventional, there's a song called Rapunzel that the main riff, the main section of the song, like the whole beginning of it and that section that repeats throughout the song, it has no time signature. Find that in another song. You never will. No time signature. So that's the kind of shit that to me is like, wow.
Yeah. But I think that's also
Yeah.
the kind of shit that you got to be on that side of the fence to appreciate, because if you're just right, I mean, otherwise you won't. Like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. And all this time I'm thinking like Stranglehold was like a super impressive guitar rip. Rob goes, nah. Rob goes, nah.
No.
You know, do a music pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Like, well, you know, when I talk to Rob, like that's what we do. We just sit and talk music and rappers and cadence, and you know, we get into rock and cadence. They will go back in the day. You know, we'll just because and then Rob will put me on to certain new music. So like he'll listen to like Afro beats, and then he'll put me on a certain DJs and stuff like that. So
did I tell you I talked to I talked to what's his name, by the way?
The guy from England?
Yeah, the guy from the guy from Ghana who lives in the UK that I showed you.
Yes.
I talked to him recently online. That's how small he is.
Wow.
Because I left the comment, he replied the same day, and then we like got into a conversation. And like when I told him, like, you know, I feel that like he's more technically capable as a DJ and has so much more complicated layering and stuff than K Tronado, who's one of my favorite DJs.
Yeah.
Like that blew his fucking mind. He thought it was awesome. And the fact that I was starting to share it with people in the US, because he doesn't have really any touch over here yet. He thought that was awesome. But yeah, that's really cool. John, what are you listening to these days? Modern stuff. You listen to any modern music?
Trying to think. I'd have to go into my Spotify. You know what? With a 7-year-old in the car, most of the time, it's hard to really get into anything.
It's a lot of Frozen.
A lot of Frozen. A lot of story time stuff. I'm just like looking at what's on repeat on Spotify, and I've got everything from the Breeders, Stone Temple Pilots, Killers, Beastie Boys, Fugazi, The Cult, Gorillaz, more Beasties, EPMD.
Wow, the Gorillaz were awesome.
Yeah.
So somebody's crashing this here.
Yeah.
EPMD, ASAP Rocky.
Hey John, look up, John.
Hey.
How are you?
I can't see. Is that Sanj?
Yep.
What's up, buddy?
How you
doing?
Good,
How are
brother.
you?
How's everything?
Everything
I can't complain. I'm blessed.
Good. Good.
Are you
gonna be out in Vegas in about 2 weeks?
In 32 years of my business, I have never attended that.
God bless you. You figured it out. You have figured it out, my friend. Yeah, man.
Yeah, not worth it. They called us and they wanted to bring our brand there. I said, well, I'm not interested. Maybe next year. I can't do it.
You know, I've had this conversation with other people like Charlie Minato from Half Wheel and stuff, and you start to think about what it takes to get there and put up the display and the money you spend on the travel and the hotels.
Yeah,
it almost doesn't make sense, really.
Yeah.
You know?
So the funny thing is, I always used to tell people, I said, the way we do things, the same amount of money that will cost you there, we give it out. We send like free samples to our clients.
It's the best way to build a business.
And that's where we spend the money. And, you know, you see it, you know, today, even our stuff is #1 posted on social media all over. And that's, I guess when you put, you know, product in people's hand, they appreciate it more than, you know, you cater to maybe 3,000, 4,000 specific people that don't even give two shits about you.
That's the thing. Like, I remember back in the day, George Brightman told me how to build a brand. He said, sample, sample, sample. Because you got to get the product in the hands of the customer, the consumer.
Yeah. And
I'm a big believer in that. And we will. I mean, at the PCA, we'll give out between 3,000 and 5,000 cigars, which is ridiculous when you think about the cost and the expense. But
but at the same token, if you give that cigars to your top retailers, so guys, anybody comes, like that's what we do. We'll send like 2 boxes of cigars and say first 50 guys, give them free cigars.
Yeah.
And you know, it's actually more profitable for us that way. Because now you're giving free cigars, something they never tried before. Now they like it. If you give out 50 and you get 10% return on it, you won.
100%.
You know? Yeah, and that's the way we never ever have given out to even any bloggers or anybody. We don't send out cigars. I had a lot of bloggers call me, yo, can I get your cigars? You know what I tell them? Go purchase it.
Yeah, I said the same thing. And the reason why I tell them, I said, look, if I give you the cigar, you're going to actually have a little bias towards giving me a good review. So just go get the cigar, support brick and mortar, buy the cigars, and then give me your honest opinion. I'd rather have that than me giving you free stuff. I've never tried to get a rating out of anybody for anything, really.
Yeah. When you come into Jersey, we got to do an event.
I would love to, man. I would love to. I was actually, I was talking to Nick Libretti up at JR, and he says, "Oh,
Right.
fly in here. We'll do a podcast, and then you can do a few events in the area, blah blah blah." And we've always been going back and forth and talking about it, but life just gets in front of me, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
absolutely,
you know.
absolutely. I
So
understand.
at some point, though, if I get up that way, you'll be on the list for sure. I'd love to
Absolutely,
come see the shop. And
absolutely.
I've heard great things about the cigars you're doing too.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so that's we did everything on the project called Kill the Industry. So our cigars, originally I manufactured the cigars in 1992.
Wow, that's even before my time.
Yeah, so in 92, the original cigars were made by Don Douglas out of Costa Rica.
Tabacalera Tambor.
Yeah, so that was actually my first guy. And then I blended cigars for Bahia. Remember Bahia for
Tony
Borani?
Borani, dude, that was like my idol back in the 90s. Like I idolized Tony Borani. I tell people today, I said, you don't understand how good like Bahia Gold was in 1998, or even the Trinidad, or Bahia, you know, just he was one of the first.
Bahia Gold, that had a lot to do with the blend.
Dude, that was in my mind. There's like 5 to 6 cigars that stand out in my memory. And Bahia Gold Robusto in 1998, I smoked it in the Opryland Hotel in the suite with Tony. And I said, that cigar blew me away. I remember exactly like it was yesterday. And that was what, 25 years ago?
I think I have some original Bahia Gold.
Amazing.
If I find it, I'm going to send you some.
Amazing cigar. I don't know if it aged out by now or not, but here's the story. We were up in there in a suite with a bunch of people, Cigar Aficionado magazine, what have you. And he was smoking a cigar with no band on it. And he gave me a Bahia Gold Robusto, and I was smoking and I said, God, Tony, this thing is amazing, right? And he says, really? He goes, he'll smoke this. Tell me what you think of this. And so we swapped cigars, and I smoked his cigar. I said, this is fucking great too. But that Bahia Gold Robusto is better than this. I said, what is this? He said, that's a Cohiba Robusto from Cuba. Yeah. And I thought the Bahia was better. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
It was great. Good stuff, man. Yeah, Don Douglas. I mean, that's the guy that made this cigar that really kind of kept CAO in business back in '98. We did the CAO Aniversario Maduro. And that's really what kind of got us over the hump back in the day. And then we only had 9 months of production from that cigar. Though. And then Tony got us kicked out. So that's I didn't know you had a connection to back then. There was also a guy named Victor Calvo that was in that operation as well.
Yeah, Victor Calvo. Yeah, Victor Calvo, of course.
Sure.
Of course, I know them all. Yeah, so our first cigar was actually the first mass-produced cigar, not mass-produced, but boutique, and that we brought to U.S.
Right.
SP 1014 Black was the first one that Don Douglas made.
Okay.
And then from there, we had an issue. So we moved to UST.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, UST had a guy named Bent Arm, who's a master blender, phenomenal guy. He's still alive. He's in DR. He does coffee now. Okay. And Bent and I sat, and I said, Bent, I need to do this. So Dixon Farrington was the president of UST at the time, and Dixon and I were, friends. And he's like, look, we'll help you out. So we did it. So we, at the UST, we made a cigar called SP 1014 Red, which was the Talanga wrapper.
Okay.
And if you look at now, the Talanga, Astral Talanga, that was all my design. Actually, if you look at the same 652 with the pigtail and a closed foot, and it came wrapped in a banana leaf with just a twig, that was all my design, but they liked it so much. I said, you keep it. And then from there, they sold it to Thomas Hines. So we couldn't do business out of Canada. So then we opened up our own stuff. And that cigar company today is called PDR. So originally the PDR Age Factory, I was the original owner. Me and this guy Juan was the original owner of that company.
I never knew that.
We were making SP 1014s out of there. And then, Abe came in, and, I have issues with morals, ethic, and principles. So we left. And then I went to Jose at La Aurora. And then they couldn't give me what I wanted. I guess they were too busy at the time. So we respectfully, 2009, late 2008, early 2009, I said, we're not going to make the cigars. We're just going to take it off. And then about 7 years ago, I was on a blog. I've been on like 1,200, 1,300 blogs all over the world. And we were talking about, and people like, why the cigars, costing the way they're costing? And I simply said, look, it's, mainly manufacturers' greed. Most of it is all greed. And then we decided, I just announced it. It was actually TLE podcast, Erica and Amy. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to revise all our cigars. And all our cigars are at 1992 pricing.
Damn.
It's a SP Red, which is the Dominican Corojo Puro, right? Which is weighed 5 times, age full year after it's made. And every single cigar, we guarantee it. That was our thing in 90s. And that cigar was $8, $8.50, and $9 today. It's the same price.
Wow.
The black, Eladio and I are friends for over 25 years. And when Eladio was retiring, 2 years prior to it, I contacted her. We had meetings and stuff. And I said, this is my plan. And he said, let's do it. So we already had made the cigars before he even retired. And then within a few months, him retiring, we released the SP Black. So out of Eladio's factory, SP Black was the first cigar that Eladio put it out. And that cigar was $9, $10, $11, and $12. And today it's the same exact price.
Jeez. That's crazy. Eladio's got a new factory though, right? He's got he's doing that Freud cigar or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, that's same place out of where he makes
there you go. Okay.
SPs, yeah. Freud and Luis Torres' cigar. Yeah, so all that comes out of same factory. He's in the new Zona Franca building.
Yeah, he's near Ernie. He's near Ernesto.
Yeah. Ernie's few doors down, yeah.
In fact, Eladio's son, Emmanuel, used to we were good friends. He used to work for Ernie, and then he went over to work for his dad, but we still keep in contact, we keep in touch.
Yeah.
Small world, man. Small world.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So I'm on the retail end because I'm disabled on paper. I just refuse to take that title. So I used to race cars, and my left side is basically all bionic.
Oh, really? Okay.
I can't do much. So I said, you know what? I grew up in cigar business as a kid. My family has cigar business and stuff. So I opened up 1992. I opened up a cigar shop, and that's where we were selling our SPs out of. And then at that time, we were selling without internet, without anything. We were selling close to 1 million cigars a year.
Jeez, that's a number. That's a number today, even really.
Yeah, even today. Like, look, when we launched the SP Red in 2022, right? Our first batch, we had 80,000 cigars sold in like 2 weeks. Black, 80,000 cigars. We sold it in 3 days.
Jeez.
So from January of this year to now, we have sold almost 300,000 cigars so far.
That's crazy.
And we only doing business with 40 shops in the US.
That's the way to do it, man. That's the way to do it,
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that success. That's fantastic. Man.
Have you smoked any of my stuff?
Have not, man. I've seen it here and there, and I've heard about it, but I have not smoked any of it. I haven't had the pleasure. I mean, my life is like, I'm like in a hole, man. Like, if I'm not here in this warehouse, I'm at home being a husband and a father, or trying to,
Yeah.
So I don't. The only
get his address and everything, and then give it to Rob, and we'll ship you out stuff.
I would love to try it, man. I would love to.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be a pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, my pleasure, brother. Good. Yeah. So you guys carry on, and you're in a good hands with Innocent.
All right, man. Yeah, I look forward to it. It's been fun.
This is my that's my sensei right there.
Very good.
Sounds good talking to you, man.
The ideas, Rob.
All right. And, all right. Have a good one.
All right.
Cheers. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Bless.
God bless you as well.
Bye.
All right, Sanj.
Whatever you want.
Yeah. So like that's where me and Robert at pretty much.
Yeah.
Every day.
Sorry, I'm gonna mute myself for 1 sec.
No, do your thing. Do your thing. Yeah. So, well, I guess we can kind of go back, like we're going back into your Cali life.
Okay.
We're back into that. So, like, you went to USC.
I did.
So back when you were there, like the big guys on campus were who, like Junior Seau, Willie McGinnis.
Say I was there. Yeah. In fact, I remember going to Tommy Burgers, which was this little like stand, like a Tommy stand. They did like these nasty chili burgers, but everybody went there like after hours.
Yeah.
And you see Junior there, he'd be eating a burger or 3 or 4, you know. And
Yeah.
those were the guys.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else was on the team at that point. Sean Salisbury was the quarterback. I mean, he ended up playing for the Vikings, and then I think he did a stint on ESPN as a broadcaster for a minute. You know, I didn't think much about it really. I wasn't really into. I'll be honest with you that if I had to do it all over again, I would not have gone there probably.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to be in LA ever since I was a kid, and that was my ticket to get to LA. But I mean, I wasted 4 years, man. I didn't really go to class. I hung out with guys that weren't even in college. They were like in their late 20s, and I was always off campus doing other stuff. And you know, I had it.
And now you're John Huber of Crown Heads.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I don't know. It was like I didn't really fit in very well at that campus at that time.
Yeah.
And I always felt like the odd guy out. You know, I wasn't into the Greek life thing. And I remember I was 17 and I showed up for like my orientation, and I was wearing what I wore growing up, which was like either Dickies or Ben Davis, and like a flannel or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, not even have a pair of Levi's growing up. Like I didn't wear blue jeans. So we wore Dickies and Ben's and workwear and stuff like that. And I was a city kid, and I went there, and like everybody, that was the height of preppiness. So like everybody had like these
cardigans,
like polo shirts and like khakis. I'm like, where are khakis? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. You know, and Madras shorts and stuff. And I just like, what is that? Wasn't for me. So I wanted to leave USC like within the first, I would say, month. Wow. I remember just being on a payphone talking to my mother saying, I hate this place. I want to come home.
Yeah.
No, stay there. Stay there. So fast forward 4 years later, I get out of school and I'm like, you know, high five figures in debt. And it's like, you're on your own. So figure it out. But, you know, it is what it is.
So now you're down in Tennessee. So have you been to Peg Leg?
No. Is that like a barbecue place?
Yes.
No, I don't eat barbecue. I don't live in the country. I don't eat barbecue. I don't like hot chicken.
All right, hold on a minute. I agree with you on country 1,000,000%. Why don't you eat barbecue?
Yeah,
that's just I've never been into it, man. I'm just like, that's not my thing. Like I got so excited when they opened up this place out where we live called Pokemoto, which was like Hawaiian style poke and like on rice, and I would rather eat that than barbecue any day of the week, man. I'm just not into barbecue. It's not my thing.
You know what?
I don't know.
One day I just want you to stop by there and look for Care and ask him for his business card.
All right.
He has one of the best business cards I've ever seen.
What's the fascination with his business card? I hate business cards, but
on his business card, he goes, used car salesman, real estate agent, exorcisms.
Oh, I know what place you're talking about.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So, and he calls it Peg Leg because he lost his leg in the military.
He has a daycare center too, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
And a daycare center. That's an entrepreneur right there, huh?
Yeah. His business card was funny. So he was at the barbecue event that Sanj holds every year. For charity. And he gets on the mic and just starts singing. And everybody goes, "What the hell?" You know, and his wife was the one that said, "Go back there and ask him for his business card." So I go back there and he goes, "If I give you this, you gotta read the whole thing." I read the whole thing and I go, "This is the most amazing business card I've ever seen." You know,
all right, now you got my curiosity piqued, man. That's funny. It's ironic because I never, like, we have business cards, obviously.
Yeah.
But I can count the number of cards I've given out in 10 years on probably two hands.
Really?
Yeah. I just don't really, you know. I mean, in this day and age, like kind of a business card is like Google it, or, you know, everything's a QR code away or some shit. I don't know. I just never really was into business cards or titles or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just like, whatever.
So here's my question about that too. Do you feel like the cigar game has changed because of social media now?
100%. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll frame it up like this. So like when I was just getting started, there was no social media, there was no any of that. The only way you had a chance to get your story out was, I remember I used to have to like type up a press release and fax it to George Brightman at Cigar Aficionado magazine and hope that it would make the magazine, so the story would hit the magazine, like, and that was quarterly back then. It was only like 4 issues a year. And then they started Cigar Insider, and that was like a monthly thing. Hopefully you can get into that. And then they started the advent of like forums, like the Fuente forum and stuff like that started to pop up a little bit. But now, I mean, I could literally get a new release out to 30,000 people and instantaneously.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100% has changed the game. If you're not utilizing social media in any business, then forget it. You're not gonna survive, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Makes it easier. Makes it a lot easier. I'll tell you that.
One thing I will say is like every cigar that Rob has pointed me to from your brand has been so like these these come out this year.
Is that Le Patissier?
Yes.
That started off as a PCA exclusive cigar, like in a Lonsdale size, like 2 years ago. And then last year at the PCA, we released it as a standalone regular production brand in 4 sizes. So it's been out it'll be a year out in the marketplace. But now we had the initial production was coming out of a place called Tabacalera Pichardo, but then I changed production to Naxa, Nicaraguan American Cigars SA, and I think that they leveled up the blend 110%. So it's fantastic now.
Yeah, like.
Hey, speaking of event only stuff, I fucking love
some blood medicine. Nice.
Oh my God, I love blood medicine.
Awesome, man. That was fun to do. I like that. That was a fun project because all of our reps kept asking for an event only cigar, and I had a blend, like a pocket blend that I thought would work really well. And then I knew what the packaging would look like from years ago. That's actually blood medicine is based on there's a good story behind it because there's a restaurant downtown on Broadway called Merchants. It used to be an old pharmacy from the late 1800s. And if you go to the top floor, they still have the exposed brick wall from the pharmacy, and it says blood medicine on that wall. And that's what sparked the whole idea for the brand. So a friend of mine.
Yeah, that's sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, that's one of those. So I smoked, I've smoked a ton of everything, but a lot of event only cigars, and I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but a lot of event only cigars, you could tell that they're either a spinoff of something they already have, or it's a decent cigar that, it's not going to cost too much money. They can give it away and they can say that you can only get it at the event. And it's not necessarily special. It's okay, but you got free cigars. Blood medicine is its own thing, to the extent that I'm sad that I can only smoke X amount of them if we have some left over, because you have to buy something to get them. So that it's a special blend when you crave it. It's a damn good cigar.
I like the blend. I mean, that is its own unique blend. It's not a riff or a spinoff or redo of anything. It's unique for sure. But I'd had that blend for a while and didn't know what to do with it. And then, like I said, everybody kept saying, "Oh, you should do an event only cigar." But I don't think we marketed it effectively, and I don't think our sales guys did a good job with it, to be perfectly blunt. So I don't know what the future of it is, to be honest with you. It should have gotten more traction than it did, but the guys just didn't utilize it the way that I thought they would. So
yeah, well, even I won't put him on blast either, but even our sales rep never mentioned, doing anything with blood medicine. When we were talking about
my broker.
I guess
Miguel.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I love Miguel though. I mean,
Miguel's good people.
He is. If he dropped the ball with that one, I'm going to give him the hall pass because I just love Miguel.
We were talking about
He's a good dude.
Free goods with boxes if we ordered a bunch of stuff, for an online event or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like going through, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then just in passing, there's those blood medicines. I'm like, you have you have fucking blood medicine that we can have, like, for this shit. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, send as much of it as you can. I'm like, Sanj, order fucking 200 boxes. Let's get these blood medicines in here.
Awesome.
Great cigar.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, like You know, I know it may seem like we're fanboying a little bit, but it's kind of hard not to.
Well, listen, hey, innocent.
It's better than being on here and you guys talking shit about me. So what's the alternative?
You only know me a bit from online, but you can probably tell. And Innocent knows me well at this point to know that I'm not a fan of really, and not because I'm trying to be a hard ass. I'm not like a fan of anybody. Like people come in this shop that are legends in the industry. I say hi. I'll have some coffee with them, and I get bored and I go about my business. You know, you're one of the only people in the industry that I ever bothered to say anything about. And like I said earlier, it goes a long way. So it's like I'm not a fanboy of really any brands, other than basically yours, mostly because of you. So that's a big thing. You know what I mean? Well, for me, because I'm one of the blunt. That's why a lot of brands don't screw with me when it comes to cigar media, because lots of brands send me stuff, but some don't. Because remember how you said earlier, which is true, most reviewers, blogs, whatever that you're going to send stuff to, it's going to be a positive review no matter what, because you sent them for free.
Correct.
Well, I'm that one guy that tons of brands all the way down to Drew Estate, I don't mind dropping them in there because they fucked me in a bad way. But I'm one of these guys that all of these brands at some time or another have sent me media packs and stuff like that. Then they get their mind blown when I destroy a cigar in a review. But
you're being honest, though, you know.
Right, to me, it's about literally to like smoking enough samples to have an idea about it. You know, the blend, the consistency, etc. And then you're gonna get the 100 on it. Like I'm not gonna bullshit it. So you know that's why when people hear me promoting Crown Heads all the time, and when people watch my videos on them, and you know, so far nothing is missed. It's like. Yeah, and I've told people a ton of times in person and in videos that you guys have never given me anything to review. Or like you give me tons of stuff, but you have specifically said I don't want to review.
No, it's just like I want you to enjoy it. Like I think it's, you know what, how it started off is I reached out to you because I was watching your Should I Smoke This clips, and I was like, this guy works hard at this, man. The edits, the timing, the finding all these, and I was actually like impressed and like appreciative of the time and effort that it took. And I didn't think people were really understanding how, you know, how much work that took. So I was like, man, I think what you're doing is great. Keep it up, man. Here's some cigars, what we do. I hope you enjoy them. And that's it. No strings attached. It wasn't a quid pro quo thing. I was like, I hope you like these. That's it. And I was like, I wasn't expecting a review or anything. I was just saying,
I've been transparent all the time about you've never asked for a review, and 98% of your stuff I wound up reviewing before you send it to me. So if it's getting consistently good reviews and I'm not getting any money or product out of it, it's because it's good stuff. It's legitimately good product.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank you. And like I would say to anybody that gives me that compliment, like the real accolades go to the factories that are working with us. I mean, they make us look good. Let's face it. Like, you know, you've got my father's cigars with the Garcias, you've got Ernesto Perez Carrillo with Tabacalera La Alianza, you've got Noxa, you've got, you know, Radio Pichardo down there. I'm fortunate that we have relationships with some very, very good houses in the industry. I mean, I can't sit here and go, oh, thank you, you know, we don't miss.
No.
You know what I mean? It's all, that's where the credit needs to go to. And I see, unfortunately, some of the newer brand owners coming on and just like, like acting like they're some rock star or something. Like, dude, you're just a validator. You're not really anything special. It's like those people down there are the ones that are creating the magic.
You're 1,000,000% right. One part of the key, though, because you're right. In terms of most of the actual credit of the final product, it's the other people.
Correct.
Part of the key is like something Sanj touched on a minute ago about, or I don't know if he threw that part of his life story in there, but he had stopped SP 1014 after a good run because the quality started to slip. So he said, I'd rather just not have the cigar on the market. So choosing the right people to work with, constantly being conscious of your QC and of the product that's coming out year to year. And then if something's not working, cutting ties and or changing factories or blenders, etc. That's a big thing. So that's also, it shows that as a brand owner, you're taking pride in the product and not just trying to put product out there.
No, it's 100% true. It's
again, I won't throw anybody under the bus, but there are a few brands that over the years I've seen really slide down the hill in terms of quality control and whatnot, but they'll just keep a line going and beat it to death because they know people know the name, and some people smoke the line. That and the fact that, another topic for another day, I say a fair 70% of cigar smokers don't know what they're smoking anyway. They're just blowing smoke. And they'll just keep putting out a shit product, even though it's not. It's a shell of what it used to be, because it's making money.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate a brand owner that, at least, because we all know you're not a master blender.
Nope.
You're not rolling the shit in the factories, but at the same time, you're making sure that a fantastic product that you would want to smoke is coming to consumers, and not all brand owners can say the same. I got to tell you.
Well, I would tell one story. I'm not gonna name the company that came in, but
who the hell are you?
Huh?
Who the hell are you, and why are you interrupting?
I'm sorry. So a company comes in, and Rob kept saying, he was like, "Yeah, the cigars aren't bad, but their burn is inconsistent." Says it right in front of the guy. The guy hands Rob a cigar. Rob is smoking a cigar, and he relights it like 4 or 5 times right in front of the guy. And the guy.
No, you got the story wrong. It's better than that. So I told this guy, and he's one of the people that I think you have in mind, John, but I'll tell you off camera who it was, because he's one of the people that's playing that rock star role right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came in, and I said, "Oh yeah, I reviewed a few of your cigars recently." And he goes, "What'd you think?" So I said, honestly, the blends are pretty solid. I said, but all of them, required quite a bit of work in the burn department. Construction's not consistent. The cigars are a little soft, underfilled, etc. And he goes, "Oh no," he's like, I never heard anything like that or whatever. So to prove a point, he was like, "Here, I want you to smoke one now." So actually, innocent, what happened is, if you remember, I didn't smoke a cigar. I was already smoking something else. Yeah. So once I declined, and I was like, "No, I'm smoking this right now." So he went out and got himself one of his own cigars. And to prove a point, he was sitting in a circle with us, and he lit up his own cigar, and he was smoking it. And it wound up needing about 5 burn touch-ups and a relight. But every time he would do it, he would kind of like glance at me and try to like just hit it with the light real quick. By the time he was touching that cigar up for about the 5th time, I interrupted everybody who was talking, and I just said, "See, that's all I meant. It needs some burn touch-ups, right?" The guy's not exactly white, but he turned red. He was like,
"Oh my God."
"Oh well, no, it's just." I'm like, yeah, like I never said it was a shit product, but like people want to pretend that like your stuff's flawless, and it's like, especially being that you're trying to take credit for the whole thing, at least own up to in some honest feedback. He literally seemed kind of pissed.
That's really important. That's what you just touched on, is honest feedback. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get better at your craft, is if somebody said, so you make adjustments. You go, okay, what's wrong? If something's not properly fermented, you get in touch with the factory. Hey, look, I'm having these issues. You fix it and you go forward, you get better. But if you just sit there and you deny that the product isn't where it should be, then you're never going to improve your game. So, I mean, I listen, if we get complaints, by email, whatever, I will always address them. And I'll say, look, I'm going to relay this information. I appreciate you taking the time to bring it to my attention, because now we know that we might have a problem. So let's fix it. And then I replace the cigars with something that's, that's really important. I think honest feedback is actually, it's good info. It just depends how you use it.
Yep. 100%. Hey,
No, go ahead, Rob. You want to say something?
John, I super apologize, but I have to be live in 2 hours, and I have about 10 orders left to pack. So
I'm almost at that point too. So the timing was good, man. But it was really good to talk to you, man. It really was.
Yeah, well, we got to do it again. If you come out here, it's going to be awesome, because I'm here every day. We'll put up.
I'd love the opportunity,
need to come out
for
here
sure.
anyway, so
Sounds good.
I want a longboard by the river now.
There you go. Maybe I'll do one in the next couple of days and put it on Instagram. See what you're missing, Rob. But
yeah, that's really cool.
Not a lot of time left.
Also, I'll be sending you some Sanj cigars. Innocent, make sure you get his address when you guys are done. I'm going to send you some cigars, and also something I'm going to send you too.
Fantastic. So, look forward to it, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you again so much for just being so genuine, and just being one of the only people it's like even ever cared about one of the biggest things that's ever happened to me. Well, one of the hardest things that's ever happened in my life. That meant a lot.
Is that going okay? We haven't really.
Oh, January 7th, I said goodbye. Well, it's not a huge secret.
I didn't know.
Yeah, no, it's all right. In fact, my vet kind of is assuming. First of all, she said she's never seen anybody do that much for a dog with that condition.
Mhm.
But she, like, it's pretty much probably a record in terms of how long he stayed alive from the time he was. Usually within 6 to 8 months of diagnosis, you're gone. He was going for 15 months.
Awesome.
You know, and
had a good
because
run.
I mean, it's one of the saddest things in the world. You just watch him die slowly from the back feet forward.
Yeah.
And towards the end, I was literally, carrying him in and out of the house with a 12-foot ramp and a helper harness, putting him in the cart. Their back half towards the end, they don't control anything anymore, so they're going to the bathroom on themselves all day, and all that stuff. But even then, he was staying happy, and in the cart, he was doing his walk. It was that one day, finally, we were walking. He just kept stopping and looking at me, like he was telling me, like, yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
Because that's the weird thing about that condition is there's no pain.
Mhm.
So until they let you know, like, they're done with the bullshit, it's not like they're hurting. So it's not up to you, really, in my opinion, to be like, all right, let me put it down.
Yeah.
Put him down. It's up to them.
Yeah.
As long as he was happy and kicking in the cart, I was going to keep doing all that work all day. And because I loved him to death. But once he finally was like, yeah, I've had enough, you know to look if you've had dogs.
I've put down like 4 dogs and like 3
Mhm.
cats or 2 cats. It's not something. Yeah, I understand. It's brutal.
It was by far the hardest day of my life, but I'm really glad that I did everything I could to give him the best quality of life towards the end.
Good for you, man. Every time I had to go through that unfortunate process, like I never just like took him to the vet and said, "Here, I'll see you later." I stayed there with the animal and throughout the whole process until they're clinically out, and so I was like sitting there sobbing like I'm 5 years old, so I know what you went through.
Trying not to cry until he was gone, and then I just lost it. In fact, and here's this was a heartwarming thing. He was going to the vet that I was telling you about for those experimental treatments, which did a lot of good. Not that I don't think anybody would see this from the area that's going through this, but Murray Hill Vet in Murray Hill. Just look it up. They're amazing. But the experimental treatments, he was there every week. And so the people there got to know him and love him, especially the main doctor that was giving him all the experimental treatments. And they loved him so much that the day that I brought him in, the runner, they call him, the people that bring the dogs in, didn't want to come out, and he was crying the whole time. When I walked in, it was like a funeral procession. The entire vet place was just like somber and sad. And the vet was so distraught, his main doctor, that she administered, the dose, and she was crying, and she had to leave the room. She left me and my mother in there. She couldn't even stay in the room. That's how much it wasn't just like she was putting down another dog. It was somebody that, it was a dog that she loved.
She had a connection. Yeah.
So like, as much as it made it harder to an extent, because you have all these crying people around you, it was so awesome that all of these people that, it wasn't their dog, they were like, it ruined their day. It sounds hard to put it. It sounds shitty to put it that way, but it was touching to me that he meant that much to so many people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's cool.
So that was kind of cool. But anyway, that was the long story short of, John kept checking up on me through that whole thing, even though he didn't know me, to ask me how I was doing and how the dog was doing. And outside of my family, really nobody was doing that. So that was amazing to me,
Well, he's in a good place now. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, boys. I guess I'll let y'all go. I got to get back to work.
All right. So let me stop this here.
Okay.
So guys, this was an amazing episode with special guest Rob from Should I Smoke This. I hope you guys really enjoyed this podcast interview. It's
Wait, you just mentioned me. What about John Hubert?
No, I was
before you got on, I was the host. I was introduced as the host.
Yeah, so John was the host. So
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so
yes,
I want to thank John for just taking time out of his day just to kind of bless me with his presence and take time out of his day just to come on here and with this podcast journey and just spread the word about his cigars. And guys, go out there, support Crown Head. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys know the vibes already. Till again, Big Guilty Cigars. Peace.
Good stuff.